Thanks, Logan Wallace on the track. LoveSync. INJ Music. I'ma say love about 2 times in 50 seconds. Let's go. Consider me a big shot. Shout out to Stevie. Meetings back, yo. I'm on my love and hip hop. Yes, so solid. It flows through my body. And if you doubt it, love, I'm told that's what that is. I'm Tyrone Higgins whenever love is given to me. Pragmatic, man. I'm just an addict for your love. I got a habit. My problems disappear when love's connected. I never wanna take back an hour, minute, or second. What a blessing. Love ain't proud. It ain't rude. Love, it rejoices and tells the truth. Love is so patient, kind. It doesn't envy. Love your friends. Love your enemies. Got love on my neighbor. Let me be more convincing. You can dive in and exegete or censor, dissect the scripture where we show love. If you're a sinner, transgender like Bruce Jenner, well, Caitlyn, we show no love. Basic man, don't you crack your mind. God can take one love, then add or multiply it. Don't want to swear by it. I promise you, if you don't have love, your life will be full of the opposite. And that's a big mistake. You're trying to demonstrate all love, instinct like Justin Timberlake. And that's a big mistake. You're trying to demonstrate all love, instinct like Justin Timberlake. If it costs $1 million, if it was free, I love you, you love me. Let's put love together.
Hey, that's right. It is LoveSync Ministries Love Talk. It is Friday. It's actually 8:02, but we was on here at 8 o'clock, just letting a little time run off, as we say, Texas time. And right now, I am Brother Darryl McGriff, and this is
Deidre McGriff.
And what do we do when we always start this off? There we go. That's right. I got to get my kiss in. That's how we started off. It started off right here on LoveSync Ministries Love Talk. So, as we always do, let's get that first commercials out the way so we can get busy. And I'm only going to play one commercial, so don't run off.
Thanks.
Don't run off. I'm only playing one.
When I saw their fear, I rose and spoke to the nobles, the officials, and the rest of the people. Do not be afraid of them. Remember the Lord, who is great and awesome, and fight for your brothers, fight for your sons, fight for your daughters, for your wives, and for your houses and your families. Can you imagine a host of men of all races gathered together, equipped, unafraid, and ready to fight for their families, ready to fight for their communities, ready to fight for their churches? Can you just imagine when Paul tells the Corinthians to be strong in the faith, and he tells the men to act like men?
And come be part of LoveSync Ministries Men After God's Own Heart, Part 4, on January 26, 2019. That's Saturday, January the 26th, 2019, at the Yeager Office Building at 550 South Waters Road, Allen, Texas. There will be food, fun, and fellowship and door prizes, with the food sponsored by Chick-fil-A. So make sure that you attend LoveSync Ministries Men After God's Own Heart. That's Saturday, January the 26th, 2019, where your speakers would be Elder Jason Hennington, Pastor Ryan Comer, Minister Darryl McGriff, and gospel artist Chase Turnbull. That's Men After God's Own Heart, Part 4.
That's right, Part 4. That is tomorrow, y'all. Again, that's 6:30 right there in Allen, Texas, 500 South Waters Road in Allen, Texas. Make sure you are in the house. It doesn't cost you a thing. All you have to do is show up. Won't nobody ask you for no donation, no nothing. All you got to do is show up and be in the place and just enjoy yourself and just come and receive what God has for you. That's all you have to do. And even though it says men after God's own heart, we do want the men to bring their wives, and wives, if your husband don't know, grab them and bring your husbands. If you're a woman and you got a potential husband, bring him. If you're looking for a potential husband, just come so you can hear what they say about the men and what men need to do, so that way you know what kind of man to look for. So make sure you come out tomorrow and enjoy yourself on that. Alrighty. Okay, ma'am, guess what? Today is a special day. it is a special celebration today. And the reason it is a special celebration, and that is because the government is open, y'all. The government is open. They can go back to work and get paid. That's right. Going back to work to get paid. That's a special celebration for today. Isn't that great?
Yeah, it is.
You don't seem too happy for the people going back and get their paycheck.
I am very happy for them.
Okay, well, if you
Yes.
can't. Yeah.
Because if I'm not getting paid, I know I'm not going to be happy working for nobody and not getting my paycheck. So, yes, I'm happy.
I know that's right. And then there's another reason to celebrate today. And
All right.
guess what day it is? Guess what
It's
day
your birthday.
it is?
It's your birthday.
Hey.
It's your birthday.
Hey.
It's your birthday.
Hey. It
Woo!
is.
The years flew.
Yes, it
You
is.
are another year old.
Another year older. That's
How
right.
you feel?
Man, I'm blessed to see another day. Blessed and humbled at the same time because unfortunately there's, high school friends and people that we know that was younger than me, my same age or just a couple years older, and none of them are here right now. They didn't get a chance to see their next birthday due to whatever the circumstance was. So to be here to see another birthday is just, hey man, it's a blessing. I feel good. I feel great that again, God allowed me. He loved me enough to see another day. So I definitely appreciate that. And so we definitely need to celebrate that more in our lives. So, and that's the case.
What a birthday song. You can't get to play that one.
Hey, I don't need the birthday song. I want to groove tonight. Share the spice of life.
You're getting a little bit beside yourself, birthday man.
No. And this is from our local store here, Water's Edge. Enjoying that birthday cake. Water's Edge Cafe. Yeah. Get that Water's Edge Cafe cake.
Well, when I met you, you were a young man. Wow.
Yeah, I can say you was a young woman now.
Yeah, you can say the same thing.
Yeah.
Wow.
But instead of saying that, you know what I'm going to do?
What? All right, now let's get back to business.
Yes, indeed.
They'll be wondering, who are these people?
Hey.
What happened to the LoveSync show?
LoveSync is right here in the house. But guess what? You know what day it is?
No, let's get
You
back
know
to
what
the
day
show.
it is?
All right, now let's get back to business.
All right, so do you have a Deidre's Diamond today?
Yes.
All right, then.
But the diamonds are a girl's best friend.
All right, then. If that's the case, what is
Okay.
the Deidre Diamond
So down
of the day?
to business. Cheryl Underwood, from the talk, she was sharing a story that seems to be getting a lot of attention. It kind of really, it's kind of sad. She was talking about when she was being, she had traumatic situation of sexual abuse, and she had a traumatic situation when her husband committed suicide. Mm-hmm. So she developed this personality disorder. She's like, she would go to two different people because it was like a coping mechanism. Mm-hmm. And these two different, because it was so much pain with the sexual abuse and with the husband that committed suicide. It was her only way. It's like, like she developed her own world. And so it got me to thinking how when you experience any form of trauma or pain, you there's different ways that you escape it. And even though I don't share the same story as her, I've thought about something that I wrote, I just wrote about in this new book about to come out. I talked about that. It's funny she said that. And I was saying about how, because of my mother's background with mental illness and all that stuff, I daydreamed a lot. And I think that in my daydreams, I could just have anything I wanted. And so I remember being in class and I always daydreamed a lot. And I think that was like, I would think what it would be like for her to be like normal moms, where they could come and go talk to the teacher and, you know, like, man, I just wanted to see how that normacy felt, you know, to go to, you know, to school, talk to the teachers. And I think I remember being about 12, and I would always just daydream about things, how it would be if things were different with my mom, if she was just normal like all the other moms. So I would just find myself constantly daydreaming. So it just got me to thinking, when she said that, it's amazing how pain, trauma, and even though we all have different stories, different situations, how people cope and escape. And for me, the daydream, I don't know, like, that always kind of kept me with some sense of hope. And it's weird. Why would I just daydream about that different things all the time? And in I just created my own world of how I wanted it to be. You know what I mean? And it's like I lived off of this big hope because of it. So, as strange as it is, I guess we all have a way of funneling our pain, our traumas, through some type of strange way. And I thought about that when she talked about that. That's some deep stuff, isn't it?
So did she ever get help, or that's just how she coped with it? So did she ever talk to anybody, go to a therapist or what?
Yeah, she did, Cheryl. And, you know, obviously she's, you know, better now. And, you know, obviously, you know, after getting help. But, yeah, she suffered, you know, very traumatically, you know, through that. And like I was saying, I just mentioned to you, we've been together forever, and I just mentioned with, you know, we talked about even with the Me Too movement, inappropriate things that I suppressed. I knew they happened, and that's why I'm very cautious about victim shaming. And I see a lot of that going on now. We talked about this on the show because it was things that I just suppressed from a teenager. I was too afraid to deal with it. So I just suppressed it back there. It was so far back, I almost forgot it. Because I just didn't want to like deal with it. And see, I was so afraid that the person who was being inappropriate, thank God nothing happened that was, you know, went all the way. But some of the actions that they did, I was afraid that I couldn't tell the person. Because, you know, the person would be like devastated or even think like I'm making it up or something. You know, it's because I was basically so young. And so it was, the husband was so much older than me. So, you know, most women at some point, you know, you see, that's the reason why the Me Too is big, have some type of instances where we go through something, you know what I mean? Now, with that one job when I was so young, that guy I was 16 and he was so much older, and I was so intimidated by him of his, you know, how inappropriate he was for that to be one of my first jobs. And I was just freaked out about it, and so I quit the job. And then now this second situation, I must have been when I was about 17, and I thought, and it was inappropriate behavior from her husband, and I was like, oh Lord, what the heck? But like I said, I kind of suppressed it way down in there because I was too afraid to come to this person and say, hey, your husband was, you know. Because I'm like, she ain't going to believe me. She's been married to this man for 40 years.
Okay.
You know?
So
we lock these things, and we, you know, because we don't know how to really cope and deal with them, you know.
Okay, so we talking two different things. So we talking two different things or a combination of both?
Well, combination of both.
When you say mental disorders, and then you're talking about the Me Too movement.
Well, Cheryl talked about how she was able to cope with them. You know what I mean?
Both of them?
Yeah, because you remember her husband's suicide and the sexual assault. So she just, her weird way of coping was those two personalities that she developed. So I was just saying, for me, even though we, everybody have different situations, different stories, it made me think back to my mom and how it was hard to cope with that. Not having her in her right mental capacity. And it was and then I didn't know how to cope with, as a 16 or 17-year-old, some big overly grown person being overly aggressive with me in a very inappropriate manner. I didn't know how to deal with that at that age. Mm-hmm. So I'm just saying, it's amazing how we can just hide, you know what I mean? Like how we don't know how to really filter or cope with certain things. And that's what I'm saying. Everybody, it's all different. And that's what it got me to thinking when I listened to Cheryl Underwood, like, oh, wow. Because sometimes that's the only way some people cope. Everybody got a strange coping mechanism sometimes, you know what I mean? And like I was saying, with dealing with my mom, I coped with it through daydreams. It kept me hopeful that there was better to come. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I was just trying to see, because like I said, I guess when you look at it, mm-hmm. all of it falls up under some type of mental disorder.
Trauma.
And so whether it's PTSD or whatever you want to call it, mm-hmm. if it had to deal with your mental, your psyche, or, mm-hmm. Having you mentally cope with it, split personality, whatever it was mm-hmm. that you did to cope with it, you did it mentally. So I guess you could be still part of a mental disorder, just on the scale of the mental disorders. Because we talked about the PTSD and how, like I said, I had that trauma from finding my grandmother dead, and then how long I dealt with that mm-hmm. because of finding my grandmother dead. So that trauma that hit me and how I dealt with that all the way up through my adult life. And then, like I said, you dealing with your mom, you dealing with sexual predators, and then you dealing with the dog thing. So you got, mm-hmm. You got three things that you juggling. And which one am I gonna? Oh God! Which one is gonna control my life? Which one can I put down? Which one? So you definitely need, like I said. So if you like, now I was lucky enough mm-hmm. that
blessed enough, you mean?
I guess blessed enough that even though it affected my life, it didn't affect my life negatively. Mm-hmm. Negatively, it just was something that just kept reoccurring. And again, being blessed enough that once I got saved and learned of the love of God, that boom, it just helped me get rid of mine. Mm-hmm. So
Well, you can't say it didn't affect you negative, because you would break out in sweats and you. So
when I mean negatively, I mean it didn't cause me to do something, make bad decisions in my life. They were just like bad dreams, just like how you had daydreams. Mm-hmm. They just came up like bad dreams. They could come up. I could be daydreaming it, and it would be bad. It would just be a bad
just wake up, just in a panic.
So it was like that, but it wasn't nothing that it made me like want to kill somebody or kill myself or something crazy like that. That's what I meant by negatively. So it didn't affect me like that. Like I said, it was just dreams, bad daydreams here and there. But that's something that went on from 9 all the way up until about 5 or 6 years ago. So that was a long time for that to come in and out.
You got saved.
Oh, well, 95, right?
Yeah,
so
saved in the 90s.
Well, basically, still, it was like from the late 60s all the way to the 90s. So that's a long time to be dealing with that. And so, but at least, praise God, that just being saved and understanding the love of God. And he took that right from me, so that was great.
And that's true, because some things, when you give your life to Him, is some things I've experienced just an instant deliverance, mm-hmm. and some things was a progressive deliverance for me. It just, like I said, it's different depending on what it is and situation. But you're right. It's something when you deal, but they're all forms of trauma. And sometimes you don't even know that there's trauma. And because even when I dealt with my sister's death back in 2008 and everything, I didn't even realize at the time that I was really dealing with a form of trauma, because it had wrecked my emotions to so much, I didn't realize it and everything. And I just, it was so hard, you know, seeing her like that. And there was a part of me, there was I call it a spiritual tasumni, you know what I'm trying to say. Because it really wrecked those emotions, because that was one of the hardest things to watch and to see, you know, someone that you know, they're always, she was kind of tough as nails, my sister. And, you know, when to watch that withering away and just, oh, boy, that was hard. So, in some ways, you know, certain things that went down and how she would, you know, when she had the seizures and all that stuff, when the cancer had progressed so terribly, it became a form of trauma. Now, I think the part that really upset my pH balance, my emotional, I remember the night where it just went off the rails with my emotions, and that was the night where I visited, where she had to go and be admitted to that home because she could no longer stay by herself. Because you remember when she was staying with us, and you remember when things got so bad with the seizure, then we had to put her in that place because she could not be here anymore. She had to be under the medical care. So the part that really even more, I was already fragile, what sent me over the edge and the trauma is when I went there that night and she was regressing back to when we were children. And she kept talking to me like we were kids. And she talked to me like because you remember she was divorced, and said, well, tell him to get, you know, oh my God, it flipped me out. Because I remember when I went to see her, I wasn't expecting that she had lost her mental capacities. And you got to remember how young we were. You know, 08, she was barely, in her very early 40s. So I was just, it just sent me over the edge as far as my emotions it did, right? Mm-hmm. And so I had to be really healed from that, you know, which only the Heavenly Father was able to do for me. See what I'm saying? And if you don't really get, when you go through any form of trauma, if God doesn't heal you, boy, you know what I'm saying? You can be really messed up because we have to get with the healer and the deliverer, because he is the one that can only bring that wholeness when sometimes these traumatic things happens to us, you know.
Well, alrighty then. So yeah, you went from getting into your mental to
trauma,
bringing down the house, man. What's up with that?
Well, you know, trauma it's just all facets of it. It affects people, you know.
Right.
You know.
Well, I guess when you have trauma in it, you got to get back and get your joy back. And you know how you get your joy back?
How?
Let's go. Submit the show.
You know what day it is? What day it is? What day is it?
It's your birthday. So you sound a more lighter note.
Yes, indeed.
So, now let me ask you a question.
There's no...
Ask me a question.
So, gosh, you're old, man. Good grief. So now, another year, what do you find that, how do you feel another year older? What does that mean to you? How do you feel? How do you put that in words?
Well, like you said, you know, the deal is with that is that, you know, you don't feel any different than the day before. It's just all in you know. Like if I wasn't trying to take care of myself, do what I need to do to love myself enough to stay on this earth, to stay a part of your life, the kids' life, the grandson's life, brothers and sisters' life, to be able to be here to give them that godly wisdom when needed, then, you know, maybe I let myself go, be all broke down, be up in the bed, can't walk and all that kind of crazy stuff. But the thing is, you know, we're doing the work for our Heavenly Father, so I'm trying to do what He calling me to do, just like Jesus said, hey, I'm about my Father's business. So we got to be about God's business, and God's business is to spread love and show people love on a constant and consistent basis. And so it's not about me, even though it's my birthday and I'm humble again and blessed to be here another day and be here another day to be able to do that what God has called me to do, and that's spread his love message. So that right there in itself just makes me feel great, because I'm in a good enough health to be able to spread that message and on this mission that he has me on. So that just makes me feel good.
That's a good answer, because I have a whole new appreciation for my birthdays that I've never had. You know, I think after losing, my sister, and losing a lot of close immediate family members, you've seen the kind of tragedy that's ran in my family. It gives me a whole new sense of gratitude on my birthday. Because I always be thinking, well, hey, I'm blessed, because, like my sisters, how young she was, and she didn't even get a chance to make it to this far.
Right.
So it definitely, because there's a lot of people as you get older that don't get that far, right? So you talk about giving you some gratitude and some humility, man.
Yeah. Exactly.
Even when I went to the kids' graduations, when they were graduating, it just blessed me, because I'm like, man, my sister, man, she wasn't here to see this. And that just kind of did something to me, like, wow, man, I knew she would have been excited. And so there's so many things that causes me to have just such a deep gratitude and appreciation.
Right.
That, man, I got to experience this, and I don't take it for granted, especially because the different tragedies that have ran in my family, especially with my, people that were so close to me, and they died so young, and it just really opened me up to, that gratitude that I can't quite put the words.
Right.
You know what I mean? So yeah, when you get another day to be in the land of living, hey, every day is a gift. It's not anything that is promised to us. So.
And do you know what day it is? Do you know what day it is?
We've said it.
What day is it?
It's your birthday.
I don't think you believe it's my birthday. That's what.
Yeah. So we just talked about it. They gonna think they got the wrong channel.
I'm there after a while.
That's right.
They're going to be like, oh, I thought this was LoveSync Ministries. What's going on?
It's LoveSync Ministries. And today on LoveSync Ministries, guess what?
It's your birthday. All right. Let's get back to the next subject. You're having a little bit too much fun.
All right. So
you're having a little bit too much fun for your birthday today, sir.
What?
All right.
So what you got?
Okay, so we already had a good conversation about the trauma. So now let's get back to business. I got to get you focused today for some reason. I just played. I was listening to a message recently with a good friend of mine's, Joan Hunter Ministries, and she had Karen Wheaton on. Wow, it was good, because she had a book about the prodigal daughter. Her daughter grew up, just coming from a ministry family. Most people who know Karen Wheaton, you see her on TV and all the different, I love Karen Wheaton too. So anyway, so she was at Joan's meeting here recently, so she was talking about the daughter, grew up in ministry, just everything by the book, raised into the things of God, ministry, just the whole nine. And then her daughter just, boom, went off the rails, like, oh my gosh, she was devastated. When I say went off the rails, left the husband, Karen was devastated. Just dating other people. I mean, just left the kids, and she was just devastated. And so, she was like, how did this happen? Grow up in this ministry family with all this word and this and that. Like, what in the world? And so it was a season, hell for her and everything. I mean, things was going from bad to worse. Some of her behaviors, things she was doing, the husband. But she prayed that God kept the husband's heart tender and everything during that season, because it was a few years. And at times she said she felt like giving up. it was very hard on her. But long story short, I love the testimony the other night because, I mean, she stood on God's words when it was just looked hopeless. It looks like all hope was gone, but she was determined. She was like, no, you're not going to have this daughter. And she just, and it was just like the story of the prodigal son. One day that daughter came back, told, like, Mom, I'm sorry. She repented. I mean, boom, boom, boom. And this has been for at least a few years. She's been back home. I mean, God totally restored it. And it was just an awesome testimony. And it led me to think about restoration. Do we often go back and believe him for restoration? Because many times the enemy steals from us, but we do not make him pay. We don't make him pay. And whenever you don't make him pay, he'll steal again.
Okay, so when you say you make him pay, what does that mean?
Well, what I said by that is like, this word says if the enemy is caught stealing, and if you catch him, he has to return it sevenfold. So my thing is, and a lot of times, like, we kind of let the enemy sometimes just run over us, and we do let him run over us sometimes, and we have to. And I'm just saying, I'm speaking for me because I've done it. He's ran over me, but then as I keep building that relationship with God and growing more, I don't let him off the hook like I used to. Because I'll just get to the point when I say let him off the hook, that sometimes we're passive aggressive. And so when you have a passive aggressive attitude, a lot of times, you don't have a tendency to fight, spiritually fight. And so I a lot of what I saw with Karen, and I took from that, like, whoa, I love that, because you know how you got to get in the ring. Sometimes we have to fight, and we don't like to fight. It's hard to fight. It's easy to be passive aggressive and just say, well, whatever God will is, just let it be. But it took a lot for her to fight, to take that stand, to stand on his word, even though it just looks absolutely hopeless,
Okay, well, I want to say a few things about what you said about it.
And I'm talking about restoration, God's restoration.
But what you said is,
yes,
you're talking about a woman that you're saying that she's in the ministry, so she goes around preaching and teaching, and so her family is in the ministry, and the kids know the word and all that kind of stuff. But then this daughter takes up, just left the church, left her husband, left her family, went and started dating and doing all the stuff that she wanted to do. So, and when you said, and here's what I got to get you to try to get people to understand. So let me go back to what I say every show. Understand and know that God loves you, so you can love God, love his word, and love yourself, so you will commit to that what you love, and it won't be an obligation to you. It'll be something that you want to do. Now, as a preacher's kid, and then you notice most people say the preacher's kids are the worst, right? Now, just like you said, the preacher's kids are the worst. This lady was a preacher's kid, got married, left her husband, left the church, and just, hey, I'm through doing my own thing. And you said, well, she grew up with all this word. So this is what I want you guys to understand by just quoting scriptures and giving scriptures and praying and stuff without love. That's what happened. Same thing happened with me. My dad was a preacher, but it wasn't no love behind what he was saying. It was just the scriptures. So when you did something wrong, again, there's column A for those scriptures, column B for these. You get scriptures, but you don't get love. So you're hearing of this loving God and how much this loving God can do stuff and how this loving God can change things. But then what you get is this word that's condemning and judging. Two different things. You see what I'm saying? So the reason the preacher's kids and stuff are so bad is because we hear you saying one thing, but then you're not showing the love of God in your own household, but then you can go to church and then show them a type of love that you don't even show at home.
Okay, let me stop you for 1 second.
Okay, go ahead.
That could be true in many cases, but not all cases.
I didn't
yeah,
say
and
all
I know
cases.
you did. I just want to make. I'm just trying to get that clear.
You said what you said.
Yes.
So I'm saying
yes.
This is a part that I experience
Correct,
because I was a
correct.
preacher kid. No other preacher's kids that everybody most say the preacher's kids are the worst, and I'm explaining you why.
Correct.
Just like with her, that's probably what happened. You say all this word stuff, but there's no love in it. When there's no love in it, then the words don't really mean nothing because the words and the action don't line up with what you're telling me that God is. You see what I'm saying?
And don't get me wrong, I do think most cases are as what you described, but it obviously is different in every case. I think that I'm going to speak on.
Oh, no, I'm not disagreeing with you at all.
I'm going to speak on a friend that I know personally, kind of went away and fell away. But they grew up in a very loving household. And I know this for factual. So, see, it doesn't always have to be those cases.
But here's the
That's
deal.
all I'm saying.
But here's what I want to say. And I don't care if it's T.D. Jakes, Joel Osteen, Joyce Myers, all the big name preachers that everybody put up here.
Okay.
If you don't live with them 24/7 and you only see them when you go to their house, you can't say for sure that's a loving household.
But that's why I spoke with somebody I know personally.
But still, you only see them when you're with them when they invite you over. You're not there when you go and the door shut. You don't know what's going on in them houses. That's all I'm saying.
I get that.
I'm not saying anybody's doing anything,
Correct.
but I'm saying
I
we're so
understand.
quick to speak on these people about
No,
we know
I'm
that
not
we
speaking
live with
on
them
those
24/7. That's just like if somebody came here and when they come here, oh, they're so nice, they're a loving couple. When that door closed, they don't know if I'm WWEing up on there. Boom.
No, and I'm not speaking on them. I'm speaking on someone I know personally.
But I'm saying you don't stay with them 24/7.
Okay.
You can only speak on the time that you see them, not 24 hours a day.
So here, I'm going to finish what I was saying.
Go ahead, finish what you were
this
saying.
person that I know, a very dear friend, grew up in a very loving home. I knew the family and everything. So there are sometimes other issues that people have, and sometimes you're right. In most of those cases, you're right. They don't experience the love of God. It becomes scriptures, and it's not a lot of love, and it happens. I get that, but it's not the case in every case. Now, because this case really boggled my mind a little bit with this person that I know very intimately as a good friend. Like, how did this happen? You grew up in this lovely environment. We've been good friends all these years, but sometimes what I was about to say is it's not that she didn't grow up in a very loving environment. Sometimes people have, for whatever reasons, it wasn't the other kids, it was just her. They have something that, for whatever reason, that's broken in them that they struggle with. Now, all those other kids that in that household grew up with godly parents, just like my good friend. She said, D, I don't even know like how this could happen to me, because she said, like my dad was the epitome of, of this, living this life. So her sisters were even baffled, like how did that happen to her? So that's what I'm saying. Some people just, for whatever reason, they have inner conflicts and challenges that they come up in a loving home, but for whatever reason, they just kind of lose their way. And when we talk about it, like what happened to her, it was kind of mind-boggling to me. See what I'm saying? So it's just different for it's just every child is different. It could have been curiosity on her part. I don't know what caused her to go astray, unlike all her other siblings that grew up in such a good, godly home. You know what I mean? So it's just different for everybody. But I do believe most cases are as you're saying.
All I'm saying is there's always two sides to the coin.
Yeah.
There's always something, like you said, that you don't know what's going on with that person.
Correct, I get
and
that.
what they got from their parents or what they perceive their parents were teaching, or again, something just clicked. Okay, and like we talked about this kind of like the other day. Like for me, because of what I received from my household, that's why I went to the Nation of Islam. I went Islam. I did all kind of things before I came back to God. Because the experience that I had from teachings of God was not God's love. So again, why would I want to go back to something that you talk about as loving and caring and all this kind of stuff, but then the actions that you showed me was not what you was expressing to me? So what you showed me and what you told me was two different things. So going back to the church was the last thing that I wanted to do when I decided to make up my mind on what I was going to do with my life as an adult, of what I was going to serve and how I was going to do. And that's why you find a lot of people in the Nation of Islam and all these Jehovah's Witnesses. And people go to different religions because people did not show them the love of God. Again, and I say that's why it's a revolving door on the church. Because if I can't show you the love of God and explain to you the love of God when you're hurting, or when you're like we always said, like the gay pastor, I have to say that, the bisexuals, the atheists, all of them started in the church. They all told us we started in the church. But when they went to the people of the church with those issues of how they were feeling about their sexuality or their non-belief in God, then they just yelled scriptures at them. They didn't show them God's love and try to break it down to them in love or correct in love to keep them in the church. Again, there's those row of scriptures that when somebody come to us with this issue, this is what we tell them. And what did that do? That just ran them out of the church to the thing that God didn't want them to go to in the first place.
You know, and also I could even use the love even with a weakness situation, you know, because love endures, it suffers long, and it endures. And so, you know what, you have to have a really high love and endurance to prevail for your child like that, you know, because it would have been easy. As I listen to her testimony, it's easy sometimes to just say, you know, hey, just whatever go be, just let them do what they want. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. It's easy to just say, you know,
it's easy to do that, because then you won't be showing love. Because as we spoke again, a part of loving somebody is being able to discipline them in love, correct them in love, rebuke them in love, reproof them in love. All that is part of God's word, which is love. So discipline and correction and rebuke, all that is still loving your child. So if you don't love your child, then yes, you'll just say, and like you just said, it's easy to just let them do what they want to do. You don't have to do nothing.
Well, yeah, and
that's not love.
And endurance. This is another one that my takeaway is from endurance. Because that's a fruit of the spirit. That's a part of a characteristic of love. Because love endures long. And if you've never had to, because I've gone through things where I had to pray and stand for people or some person that was in a terrible situation and do that thing progressively over a long period of time. And so, you know, some people may never experience that, where, you know, whether it was a child, a friend, was in trouble, whatever it was, where, you know, you endured for that person. I mean, you suffered long with them. I mean, you stayed in the ring spiritually, and you was, you know, fighting for them. And that's a part of endurance, and love endures long. And so many times, most people maybe not got to that point where they have a clue what it is to endure for something. Because it's a very, very challenging thing if you've never stood for someone. If you've never stood for someone, for something that they, you know, to see their breakthrough. I mean, that I'm telling you, I have, and I'm telling you, that's tough. And boy, you really got to stay in that love of God, because it's easy to just say, you know something, just forget it. Let them just go ahead. I love you, but hey, boo boo, you just go on and do what you want to do. Because there's many times it's easier. And that's why I was talking about the passive aggressive. It's easy to say, you know, whatever God will, and you just do what you know, because it takes courage, it takes strength, it takes fortitude, it takes persistence to stand and fight for people when maybe they don't deserve it. It takes endurance to keep on believing for the best, hoping and enduring and praying over them when you just like, you know something, you know, it's easy to give up. Why do you think that the grandmothers of back in the day were so notorious? Because, man, they pushed, they prayed until something happened. They didn't just, those old mothers, they didn't have a lot of word. Okay, I know, I live with the old school. They did not have a lot of word. You know, I can remember growing up with some of the old school, they didn't have a lot of word, but I'm going to tell you what they did have. They had a lot of persistency. They had a trust in God. And they were not eloquent with the scriptures. But boy, you talking about push and endurance, that they had. And I mean, you know, I remember Medea will be like, okay, they didn't have all this spiritual eloquence with the word like we do. But they would say stuff like, and all I know is that he know that I need and that he got and he took care of. Like, what? And there was an assurance when she said that. Because all I know that he know that I know what I need and he got, you know. And I'm telling you, before long, you know, whatever she needed, it would be there. The provision would be there. But that's what they had. They knew how to endure the old saints. You know what I'm saying?
So endurance, long suffering.
Yes.
All that is what?
Love.
Not what's the top word up there?
Love is patient.
That's what all that is.
Yes.
All that is being patient.
Yes.
Because love is patient. That's why it's the number one. Because you can't do nothing else unless you have patience for your fellow man.
Yes.
And as she was saying, doing all this for somebody else, since we haven't been taught the true love of God from day one when we started learning about the scriptures and a lot about God's word, you sit up there talking about have long suffering and patience with somebody else. A lot of us don't do that. A lot of us don't have that same love for ourselves.
Yeah, that's very true.
To have the patience to deal and go through whatever we're dealing with and deal with our issues. We rather go deal with somebody else's issues and not deal with ours.
That's so true too. Yeah, very true.
So you're not even showing yourself enough love, and that's why we always say, love God, love His Word, and love yourself. Because you have enough. You have to go through that whole 1 Corinthians 13 verse 4. Love is patience. You have to have enough patience to deal with yourself, to start working on your issues, to love yourself enough to be able to love somebody else through their issues. Because you were just saying, well, we don't have the patience to deal with people in their issues. Well, how can you have the patience to deal with somebody in their issues if you haven't had the patience to deal with your own issues? You can't get your own stuff straight. So how you going to jump from dealing with you to go jump to help somebody else, and you don't even stay in there long enough to get your own problem solved between you and God?
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. Yeah.
So you helping somebody to get out of something, and you ain't even dealt with all yours yet. So then what happens when you trying to deal with somebody else, and then your issues are still coming up on you?
And you know, I think it has to be a good balance of our scales, because like I know for me, like I'm a seeker. I'm a seeker, and I seek God. I mean, like if I need to get answers on, I don't like stuff dragging. I don't have clarity on, and it keeps dragging. I'm like, okay, God, I need your wisdom, and I'll pray in the spirit because I need to know what do I need to do, because I never, you know, and so I try to get with Him. I need you to help me. I need to, you know, work through this. And I try to work through my stuff first, like you said, because you're right, it's inside out. So, but
because what happened is, if you don't deal with your issues and get your issues straight, then you trying to help somebody else with their issues. Now you didn't have the patience to deal with your own, so how you figure you gonna have the patience to deal with somebody else's issues, which are not your own, and then the ones that you didn't deal with, which are your own. Then when they come back up strong, then you really not going to help the other person. So now you're going to be abandoning them in their time of need, because now your issue that you never got straight are coming back up. Now you running back to your own issue.
Now another thing that I do know from experience is that also you got it again. There's a balance of scale, because God also says, see, the kingdom, God works opposite of what the world says. You know, we call it the upside down kingdom. You know, people say get, and God says give. And so God does everything opposite with His frame of thinking, His ideology. And that's why He said, my thoughts are not your thoughts, my ways are higher. So when He tells you to do something, it's always opposite, because He was saying if you want to find your life, you have to lose it. And He also says, pray ye for one another that ye may be healed. See, you can't ever get anywhere if you always 100% focus on yourself. You're never going to get your breakthrough if you don't focus on anyone else. And then he also says in Ephesians, whatever good thing that you cause to happen to someone, he says, I'll make it happen for you. So see, that's the upside down kingdom. It's like you can't get anywhere if you 100% focus on nothing but you. And Joyce Meyer says it's best. What about me? What about me? And that's why a lot of times, if you stay stuck on you 100% of the time, you will stay very, very bound. And so it has to be a balancing. Okay. You know what I mean? So man, when I say loving yourself and working on you, I mean this is like a baby Christian coming in and stuff, or you're coming into the love of God. So once you get that realization, then that's when you need to start working on yourself before you start trying to help people. Because once you're strong in the love of God and you got yourself straight, then you can start concentrating on other people, because then at that point, that's when you're going to start showing other people God's love on a constant and consistent basis, because now you're straight. You see what I'm saying? Yeah, no, and I think you're right to a degree.
I just want to make sure that they understand that,
because when you're young and you're just coming into
that's where a lot of people make their mistakes. They get saved, get on fire for God, they hype, they run out at 100 miles an hour, then something will happen, and 2 to 3 months they back out on the street again, because they didn't get the true love of God in them. They just got fired up and got in their feelings about something, instead of getting in the true love of God and love in the love of God's word. For God, His word in themselves, before they ran out and started doing stuff. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And you see that all the time. Somebody get hyped, get saved, they get hyped up, caught up in the emotions and affections and the feelings of being saved, but they're not in the love of God and His word and love of themselves. So they run out to evangelize, and then they mess around, go back out there, and the same people that they just left is laughing at them, say, man, just yesterday you was over here smoking dope and gambling with us. Now you trying to tell us about God. And then again, since it's not the true love of God that they have, they didn't understand the love of God, the love of His word, and the love of themselves, and they just ran out there with scriptures talking about they gonna save folks. Then once that emotion and that high of being saved and being hyped up starts dwindling down, and then their friends are not listening to them because somebody let them go back out there and start preaching to their friends, and they haven't even done anything yet. So now that high, because you're not truly in love with God and His word and yourself, so now that high of that emotion and that feeling start dwindling down, and then the next thing you know, 2 months later, you right back in the street again.
Yeah, and I've seen that a lot too, and that's why and we talked about that on the show even a few weeks ago, and I spoke about that. The sower soweth the word in Mark. It talks about how if you plant the word anywhere, but in the soil of your heart, which is good ground. If you plant it above the soil, and if that word doesn't get rooted into your heart, you're not. That's what happens, because a lot of people start good and strong and they're fired up, but you don't have it doesn't take root. That word doesn't take root, and so the minute the trials, the tribulations, the storm, God talks about that in the sower sowed the word. He talks about the cares of this world and all these things that choke the word and make the word unfruitful and unprofitable in our lives, because we have to get rooted in it. See, and that's why when you first, I still study a lot. I've been walking with God a long time, but I have to constantly study, because see, you have to constantly get your mind renewed. It's not about any religious activity. I mean, we have to keep our mind renewed with the word, because again, if it's all zest and you don't have a root system, immediately the enemy is going to come and steal the word that's been sown. That's what he always going to come and steal the word, and that's why that root system is so important, because once we're rooted in that word, rooted in that truth, rooted in that love, all of that, then we just like that tree that's planted by rivers of living water. He said the leaf shall not wither, and whatsoever you do it shall prosper. See, that's Psalms 91. Is he talks about that secret place. No evil shall, you just standing there. The enemy can't penetrate you when that word is rooted deep down into your heart. And so that's what we have. I always said it too on the last show. We got to get to a better state, because we have to keep getting our head like that old cheerleader song, elevate your mind. Elevate your mind. Get yourself together. See, you got to get your mind right. See, because that's the battlefield is between this here. See, that's where the real war is.
And I always say, you ain't gonna get your mind right if you don't love that thing.
Yeah,
if you don't love it, I don't care how much they push it on you, how much they train you in it. If you don't love it, you're not gonna stick with it. You're not gonna do it. It's gonna be an obligation to you instead of you wanting to do it.
Yeah.
So again, I always say that if you don't understand and truly acknowledge and know that God loves you, then I don't care what it is. Throw it in the trash. Whether it's your marriage, whether it's a job, if it's something that you don't love, if it's a job that you don't love, you're just there until you can get to the one you love. And most times you're going to be miserable until you leave. Yeah. If you're not with the person that you love, then it's miserable being there in that marriage until you get with the one you love. So it's always about the love. It has to be about the love, again, for you to want to be with that thing, for you to want to do for that thing, instead of it being an obligation to you. When you truly love something, it should never be an obligation. It's what you love to do, so you want to do it, and you want to do it freely, constantly, and consistently without wanting anything in return. If I truly love my spouse, I love my spouse because I want to do for my spouse. I don't love my spouse and do stuff for her, looking for her to do for her to do it in return. If I'm looking for her to do it in return, if I'm looking for her to do that in return, and I'm only doing stuff for her to get something in return, then that's goods and services.
Is that what it's called?
That's goods and services. But if I love her and I'm doing it just because I love her, and if she don't do it back, I still love her and I still do it for her, that's because I love her.
You know, and that's why we got to get to a better state. And you know, I was thinking about that because that scripture says, what shall I render in Psalms? What shall I render unto the Lord for all of his benefits unto me? So again, as we get to a better state, like you said, and that love for him grows, then we'll want to do more. We'll want to be committed more and more to it. Because you're right. You don't want to commit to something you don't love. And it changes your heart. It does.
I want to commit to something. You know what I want to commit to?
What's that?
I want to commit to you. Do you know what day it is? Do you know what today is?
Okay, birthday boy. I'll let you have one little bit.
Yes, that's right. It's my birthday, and I'm going to share the spice of life. I'm going to groove tonight. It's 8:58. We're about to get up out of here. So remember, tomorrow, Allen, Texas, 6:30 in Tia. Men After God's Own Heart, Part 4, 500 South Waters Road, Allen, Texas. Be there, be square. Chick-fil-A is providing the food. So y'all come on out, have fun with us. Join us again. It's all about you. You don't have to bring a wallet because we're not asking for any money. But guess what? You know what day it is?
It's your birthday.
That's right.
You're having too much fun for your birthday.
We're going to groove tonight.
Okay, we better go.
Yes, 8:59. We get ready to get up on out of here. And we appreciate
see you guys Monday.
Oh, okay. You're like, what? Like, what happened? What you talking about?
Yeah.
But so we'll get up out of here. We'll see you guys on Monday. Have a wonderful weekend. And like we always say at the end of the show, which way you gonna go?
I go that way.
Which way I'm gonna go?
You go that way.
And then before we get out of here, what you gonna do?
You always want to do.
There we go. So until Monday, y'all, we'll see y'all on Monday. So in between time, guess what day it is?
Oh, bye.
Guess what day it is?